Good afternoon. Welcome to St. Anne's Hall. This is a new place for me to be in. This is a beautiful facility, and we thank them for opening it up to us today. My name is Larry Frederick. I am the secretary for the Santa Cruz County Democratic Party. I will be the moderator for today, which mostly means I'm not going to say much, because you're not here to find out about me. We have most of the candidates here today. One was not able to make it, unfortunately, but so you know, everybody was invited. So it's not that we left anybody out. If somebody couldn't be here, well, just try not to be quite so loud. If somebody couldn't be here, they just couldn't be here. And we understand that's life right now. We have the candidates for the county one candidate for county superintendent, 2 candidates for justice of the peace, and then the 4 candidates who are running for representatives from Legislative District 21. We actually have the Senate candidate for Legislative District 21, but she doesn't have anybody running against her. So, you know, she's what it is. She's on the ballot for November. What happens in this cycle, as we are on the primary cycle, is probably going to determine who wins these races. Because for the most part, the primary winners in Santa Cruz County go on to win those positions from Santa Cruz County. So this is very important. Let me see hands. Who got their early ballot in the mail? Yeah, I got mine. My wife got hers yesterday. So let me encourage you to do something. Listen carefully, thoughtfully. Make the best decision you can. Mark your ballots and turn them in. The earlier you turn them in, the less chance anything's going to happen. Either way. You can even turn them in on election day. I just recommend, with all the crazy stuff going on right now, you get it as soon as you can. These people up here are not celebrities here to impress you. They are applying for jobs. This is their job interview with you. You are the ones that will decide whether you want to hire them or not. And your vote is what makes that decision. When we gather together like this is to inform us more about the people running. This is not a debate. This is not people going to argue with each other. Nobody's going to be tearing anybody else down. Nobody wants to hear why you shouldn't vote for the other person. I want to hear why we should vote for this person. And you can decide that from what you hear. Each candidate will have 5 minutes to introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about their background, and explain why you should vote for them. At the end of that 5 minutes, I'll let them know it's time for them to wind down and stop. I'll give them a 1-minute warning and then count down. I've done this with spelling bees for so long, it's easy for me. But at the end of that 5 minutes, you will have 10 minutes to ask questions. Joel, right over here, with a bright red U of A shirt on, will have a microphone. He will bring it back to you. We do ask that you ask your question into the microphone, simply so, because this is being broadcast over We Love Nogales, both on Facebook Live and on YouTube. I want to give a special welcome to our friends in Patagonia who are in the 210 shed watching this. They're going to be with us for the first part of the forum. So that's the county candidates for county superintendent and justice of the peace. They're going to cut off after that because they are not looking at LD21 candidates. They're looking at LD19, and the LD19 candidates are with them live. So they're going to have a chance to do the same thing with them in person. A lot more useful for them. We will be getting questions on Facebook, and we will be getting questions on YouTube, and I will have my phone out ready to get texts from the people in Patagonia. So Patagonia folks, you tell whoever's there ready to text the questions to text it to me, and I'll make sure that it gets to the candidates here. There are some wonderful refreshments in the back. These are from the Santa Cruz Training Center. There's cucumber lemonade and Jamaica. There are some amazing pastries back there. If you've never had the pastries from the Santa Cruz Training Center, you're in for a treat, because they're delicious. All of this is sponsored by the Santa Cruz County Democrats. So we're the ones paying for this. That's why we have Democrats here. And we want to make sure that we have informed voters. And so, does anyone have any questions? We are going to try and be pretty strict on that 15 minutes, 5 minutes for the introduction, 10 minutes per question, simply so we can get through all this. Otherwise, we could be here till tomorrow night. You know how that can go. All right, well, without any further ado, our first candidate for the evening is going to be for Santa Cruz County Superintendent of Schools, and we are starting with Ms. Maya Donnelly.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick. So, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Maya Donnelly, and I am running for Santa Cruz County School Superintendent. Thank you all for taking time out of your Saturday to join the forum here today, and thank you to the organizers. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be able to share about myself and to share about why I'm qualified. I'm a native of Nogales. I've called Nogales my home since I was 4. My parents, Bernie and Dolores, shout out to Bernie and Dolores McCullough, raised 5 children in our community. We all attended public schools. And then I went on to the University of Arizona to get my bachelor's in bilingual elementary ed, and later added 6th through 8th grade and adult as well. I married my high school sweetheart, Bill, and we made Santa Cruz County our home. I continued to teach 2nd and 3rd grade in Lincoln Elementary, and then I took a little break to stay home with our daughters, Madison, Jamie, and Callie. I continued, went back to the classroom, and I taught 2nd and 3rd grade at Lincoln Elementary School, and then rounded out my teaching career in the classroom after 20 years, teaching at Wade Carpenter Middle School, 6th and 8th grade English language arts. Those were my favorites. I shifted out of the classroom and into the school superintendent's office in 2016, and I've been there since. In the office, I managed grant programs. I was a grant program director. I was chief deputy for a portion of the time, and then I was appointed to the position of superintendent last July when Mr. Velasquez retired. So why am I running? It really is a truly tremendous position and office. If you get to see the collaboration between schools, teachers, students, education stakeholders, community organizations, business and industry come together and work together in an effort to make our educational communities stable, safe, well-funded, learning environments where kids can thrive. You'd want this job too. I shouldn't tell you all the good things about this job. Santa Cruz County deserves all the resources that the bigger counties get, and I want to be a part of creating a level playing field for our kids, for our teachers, for our schools. That's why I'm running. If elected, I have 3 simple but big goals. A seamless transition is my first goal, and I would be able to take into effect a seamless transition day one. I'm in the role now. I've been doing the work for a year. I know all the legal commitments of the office. I know what it takes to provide quality services as an education service agency. I know what it takes to make our school district business managers feel confident that we've processed their payroll, that we've taken care of their deposits, cleared their warrants, checked their grant programs and their reports with the Arizona Department of Education. A superintendent would feel confident to call me and ask, Maya, do you know about governing board elections? Do you know about the pro and con statements for the bond and the override? I can do all that. They can feel that they can rely on my knowledge and fairness. I would grow our office initiatives. We focus on 5 things: early childhood, the arts, prevention and wellness, college and career readiness, and workforce development. That's a new one that we're a part of big time lately. So I would grow those with more grants, more grant opportunities. And success will look like continued funding, sustained programs in schools, new partners, and always transparent, compliant data collection and budget reporting. My last goal is to act as a convener. The school superintendent's job is to bring together education stakeholders, and that's what I will continue to do. To focus on challenges that our educators have. We're putting a lot on these folks' plates. Teacher retention, all of those things. So for the last 30 years, I've dedicated myself at many levels and positions in the education field. This experience has brought me to where I am today in this leadership position. I'm a leader that's calm but no nonsense. I'm honest, I'm fair. At the end of the day, it's the job of the superintendent to make every decision with the student's interest at heart. So I listen, I do my research, and I genuinely care. Thank you.
Now, if you have a question, raise your hand. Well, we'll bring the microphone to you. That's all we do.
Good evening, everybody. As a retired teacher, I have a question for Maya. Teachers put about $1,000 a year or more for classroom supplies. There's a lot of programs and grants out there for services. I know we're about students, but what kind of support as county school superintendent are you looking for to support the teachers in that way? Because it is a huge expense as a retired teacher for 33 years. Every year spending out of my pocket when my paycheck barely pays the bills for a lot of teachers. We have single family teachers. What ideas do you have for that?
Thank you. So as an education service agency, we're allowed to apply for grants and funding, and we search high and low for federal, state, private funding. As a matter of fact, over the last 10 years as I've been in the office, I've had an active part of bringing over $15 million in grant award funding into the community. And that is supplemental funding that our school district leaders, district superintendents, have collaborated with our office in retrieving. What kind of grant programs do you want? What kind of enrichment? What kind of after-school programs? And in those grant funding, we are always including materials and professional development for teachers for that very exact reason. I'll tell you, teachers are so excited when we tell them, you have this budget to buy the supplies you need or the resources you need to carry out these lessons or to make this program happen in your schools. So we are always cognizant of that expense that teachers have to make.
Other questions?
Hello, Maya.
No.
What plans, if any, do you have for improving school safety in all the schools in our county?
Oh, so we have applied for various grants from Department of Justice for those very reasons. And mainly, school districts have their own safety programs in place. So like I just mentioned, we work with district superintendents. Where is it that you're lacking? What are your needs? How can we supplement what you're doing? And so we apply for these grants, and we do a lot of prevention work with students. We do a lot of programs where we educate teachers and students how to regulate themselves and maybe learn how to use those types of coping strategies before they make a risky decision. But yes, we are very supportive of school districts, their resource officers in school safety. Our office is to support. And so, like I said, districts have their programs in place, their safety programs in place. We fill in gaps with extra funding.
Hi, Maya. Following the gentleman's question, there have been a lot of misconceptions or misunderstandings as what the Santa Cruz County School Superintendent's Office can and cannot do in compliance with each district.
Okay.
Can you please explain to us what we do in this office, or what you do, because I'm no longer there, but what you do in that office?
Of course.
Thank
Of
you.
course, thank you. So in our office, we have a finance department, and they are pretty much, I'm sorry to everybody else, but they are the most important part of our office because they handle the fiscal management and working hand in hand with districts and their business managers. That's by statute what a county school superintendent's office has to do. And so that means processing payroll, overseeing deposits, clearing warrants. We are the go-between between the school district and the county treasurer's office. We are also the go-between the school district and the Arizona Department of Education to make sure that grant funds are being used the way they're supposed to, and that data and reporting is being entered as it's supposed to. We don't, in our office, we don't handle money per se. We are the go-between, and we are extra eyes, extra accounting services for school districts, so that is an expense that they don't have to pay for. So we have well-trained staff.
How many employees do you supervise?
At the moment, 16. Our staff size will fluctuate depending on grant programs. So at our height, a couple of years ago, we had 45 employees.
And you mentioned teacher retention, so if you could tell us what you think to handle teacher retention.
Okay, sure. So across, I was going to say across the state of Arizona, but countrywide, there is a teacher shortage, right? And so I think that for our little part of the state, providing quality professional development so that teachers don't have to worry about traveling or paying for their continued education hours would be supportive. I think that obviously pay, the state of Arizona and our congressional leaders can advocate for more pay for teachers. Also, supportive for mental well-being, support for curriculum development. I think that giving a teacher a little bit more say at the site level would make them feel more of the school community and part of the district community. It is a tough job, and we keep putting more and more on the teacher's plate. And so I think just overall supports.
I have a question from Patagonia.
Okay.
Will you be accepting money from South 32, and what is your expectations of their asks?
So we've applied for grants. They're called social investment grants. And yes, we do apply for those to supplement programming, after-school programming, summer enrichment programming. We fund after-school robotics clubs, summer camps, Tecnolochicas, a little portion of the spelling bee. But we apply for those monies, and if we are awarded from South 32, we comply with all of the data collection and the reporting as any other grant requires.
Other questions on that? By the way, there are some empty seats up here on the front row where nobody wants to sit. But if you want to sit down, there are some empty seats.
Is there a role for the county superintendent's office to include parents and community stakeholders in helping to form and formulate the decisions on what we teach our kids?
In the county school superintendent's office, we do not have say in curriculum that school districts adopt. We can support, we can provide professional development, we can do things like that, but no, we do not have a say in curriculum. That's the school district's job.
We had a question in the front row? Yeah.
It was just about that answered my question.
Okay.
We're spinning on the same circle.
Other questions? Anybody else got any? Don't want to cut anybody off. Okay, one other question. What can you do to help the school districts collaborate, work together on things? Possibly even, I can even think of things like maybe helping buy supplies for smaller districts. by combining the purchases,
Mhm.
things like that? Or is
Sure.
there anything like that the county superintendent can do?
Yes, we do. I have very good relationships established with all 5 district superintendents. As a matter of fact, we have just, Francisco in our finance office has just bought backpacks and school supplies for every school district. So that's one way. It's one way. Okay, I thought you were swinging at me.
Yep.
So we have something called an Educational Leadership Consortium that meets on a quarterly basis. It brings together all school leaders, all district superintendents, charter schools, private schools, the homeschooled educators are welcome to join these meetings as well. And in these meetings, we share resources, we share programming, we share presentations from far and wide, and it's so that everybody is in the know, everybody has the same information, I tell you, we have a tight-knit community that works really well together, and we have established clear and reliable communication.
And I got one more question from Patagonia. How would you ensure that rural schools in eastern Santa Cruz County get the same funding and opportunity as our other county district schools?
Sure, so we are very careful about that, and that is something that I learned from Mr. Velasquez early on. To be fair, it doesn't matter where a student goes to school, what part of the county they're in, teachers and students deserve the same amount of funding and support. It doesn't matter what part of the county they live in.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next 2 candidates are for the Justice of the Peace position. And first up is Adriana Olares, who is
Good afternoon, and thank you to the Santa Cruz Valley Democrats for hosting today's forum. Thank you everyone here and everyone watching online for supporting and engaging with our community and our democracy. My name is Adriana Olares, and it has been one of my greatest honors of my life to serve as your Justice of the Peace. When people ask me what makes Justice Court different, my answer is always the same. Justice Court is called the People's Court because it is where everyday people come during the most difficult moments of their lives. It is where neighbors seek protection, family resolves disputes, victims seek justice, someone struggling with addiction takes their first step towards recovery, and sometimes it's where a person simply needs to feel listened before a decision is made. That is why I believe justice begins with listening. Before we can apply the law fairly, we have to understand the people standing before us. And it doesn't happen overnight. It comes from living alongside them, earning their trust, understanding their struggles, and celebrating their successes. I raised my family here. I have my 3 children here today with me, Lucia, Hector, and Adrian. I built my career here. I have celebrated this community and grieved with this community, and dedicated my professional life to serving the people who call Santa Cruz County home. Before becoming a Justice of the Peace, I spent 6 years working inside of her courts as a certified court interpreter. I had the privilege of observing outstanding judges and learning from them every single day. I saw firsthand what makes a courtroom effective, what builds public trust, and what people deserve from a person wearing the robe. When you elected me in 2024, I promised I would work with heart, integrity, and professionalism. Since then, I have worked to turn those promises into action. We've expanded access to justice through JP East so that residents in the eastern part of the county have court services closer to home. We've strengthened partnerships with county departments, law enforcement, and community organizations because solving problems requires working together. This isn't a one-man show. We've supported Recovery Court because accountability and rehabilitation are not mutually exclusive. Those aren't campaign promises. They are accomplishments. They're examples of what can happen when leadership is measured by actions rather than words. People sometimes ask me how I prepare for the courtroom, and that's easy, and it's simple. Every day before court, I read every motion, go through every response, every filing. I research unfamiliar legal issues, and I study the law. I review the facts carefully because every case deserves my full attention. And when I encounter a question and I have a problem and I need to ask somebody, I go ahead and reach out to the Superior Court judges. Because I believe that asking questions is the responsible thing to do. It's not a weakness. I believe that makes me a better judge. Because the day a judge believes there is nothing left to learn, that is the day the people appearing before that judge stop receiving the very best the judge has to offer. Some define qualifications by a diploma. I define qualifications by preparation, judgment, integrity, humility, and the willingness to keep learning. Those qualities cannot be earned in a classroom alone. They are demonstrated every single day on the bench. Throughout this campaign, I've tried to conduct myself the same way I conduct my courtroom, with respect, honesty, and integrity. I believe elections should be about earning trust, not diminishing someone else. As I seek another term, I am not asking you to imagine the kind of judge I might become. I am asking you to evaluate the judge that I have been. I love this work. I love serving this community. And if you entrust another term, I will continue showing up every day, prepared, committed, and grateful for the opportunity to serve. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Okay, we have questions. Anybody with questions? One over here, Joel. Well, that's okay. You can ask it. Oh. Any questions in the audience? Go back.
Yes, I read your comments and the comments of your opponent, Mr. Lopez, in Dallas International. He both brought up the concern that there's no diversion program.
That there is no, I'm sorry.
Diversion.
Oh, okay.
And so what I wanted to ask was, in the comments that I read, both of you said that the county attorney's office has made it clear that he is not interested in a diversion program. But I wanted to ask each of you, do you feel it's extremely important, and what could you possibly do in the upcoming 4 years to get diversion programs returned? I believe that would be returned. They used to exist.
I don't know that it exists.
Okay. Well, what do you feel you could do? Thank you.
Yes. I am a strong advocate for diversion programs. We run the recovery court, it's a diversion program too. The reason, and this is what I believe the county attorneys, they're not on board, is because they feel that a person with a DUI needs to be held accountable for what they did. Now, do I support it? Yes. I don't believe that we're anywhere near finding a common ground to get it established in our county, but the plea agreements what I've noticed is that the plea agreements that the county attorneys offer are very close to what would be required for the diversion programs. They get the minimum sentence required by statute, and they require, as part of their plea, to do the MAD program, the defensive driving school, the drug screening, alcohol screening, the classes. And so that plea looks very much the same as a diversion program would look like.
Other questions? Here's one.
What are the most important that you need to do your job effectively, and what have you done to strengthen those partnerships?
Thank you, because I do talk about partnering with the community agencies and the other departments. One of the programs that require or that need the most help and assistance from other agencies is the recovery program, the drug diversion program. The partnership that has been strengthened over this past year and a half is with the agency Circles of Peace and the Department of Health. They have provided, the Department of Health has provided us with funds to continue working for that program to continue working, because when I first started last year, that program was going to come to an end for lack of funding. So I started talking and asking around, and it turned out that the health department had some funds from an opioid settlement they received. And so I reached out to them and I started talking and I sold them the program, and they really like what we do with that program. So they gave us the funds necessary to continue working. So that's a good partnering with the health department. And of course, Circles of Peace, they help us navigate the program. They are the ones in charge of the counseling, of making sure that they comply with the court's orders, that reminding people that they need to be in court. So that partnership has also been very important for that recovery program. Thank you.
Can you talk about the JP East and whether you think that's been successful or not?
The JP East program is a program that I started thinking when I first started working, there has to be something that I can do for my community outside of the courtroom here in Santa Cruz, in Nogales. So I remember when I first started working that there used to be another JP, a JP2 in Sonoita, that had recently closed. I wasn't here during that time, but it had recently closed. And it was my understanding that the people in the eastern part of the county were very upset because they don't have all the services that we have here in Nogales and Rio Rico. And so in an effort to reach out to them, to make sure that they have access to justice, just the same as we do, closer to Nogales, I came up with this program, and we are out there 2 times a month, every first and third Friday of the month, to handle civil cases. That's what we're doing as of now. This is just a pilot program for now to see how much they need us out there. So now we're out there twice a month, and if there ever is a need for us to be there more than 2 times a month, then we can prepare for that. Or if there is no need for 2 times a month, then we can reduce it to once a month. But I believe it's important. They might not need us as much as we are needed here, but if they were to need us, we are there. That's the idea behind this program.
In the back. For those of you who aren't here, there's a lot of people in this room. It takes a while to get across the hall.
So my question is about the JP program. What's the cost? How many people are you seeing? And if you can't answer that question off the top here, will you put that on your website so we can understand what's going on? I know that I was county supervisor. We looked what was happening in JP East, and we shut it down because the cost was not commensurate with the services that we needed.
And I understand that was a problem. So I have all the answers. The cost of the program, nothing. We use the Sonoita Community Hall there, right next to the library, where it used to be, but it's not, we only use it when we are there. It's reserved for us that first and third Friday of the month from 9 to 12. They don't charge us. I reached out to the county administrator and the supervisors, and they were on board with this. So the county is helping me with this program. So I don't pay rent fund for that. We don't have the cost of having a bench and all the things that are required in a courtroom. We use chairs like these, tables like those. I just take a tablecloth and I put it on the bench. So it's not costing the taxpayers any money. It's not costing the county anything. It's just me and one of the clerks. And when we are out there, we are doing a lot of desk work, a lot of administrative work that probably in the office, I don't have that time. I don't have the time to do. So we take a workload. We're not out there doing nothing. We're working. Now, as to how many people we have had come in, not too many. That's a good thing. That means that they are behaving and they don't need us out there. Thank you for that. But in case you do, we are there. Now, there's been times where I haven't been out there because we don't have any hearings scheduled, and that's okay. We can do something remote if something were to come up, like an order of protection, last minute. We can do that remotely. We have our computers. We didn't buy any new computers. We are using the same ones that we have here in the office. I take my car. I don't even take a county car. It's my car, my gas, so it's not costing anybody anything. I just want the service to be available if they need it. I hope that answers your question.
My question is twofold. So what resources do you know of or support for people, the victims of the aggressors, or I don't know the proper verbiage to talk about that? And then the second is, do you feel are the qualifications necessary for the Justice of the Peace to perform your everyday duties and predate both sides of the...
I have 15 seconds to answer that question. Victims, the county attorneys has a special department for victims. They take care of the victims. The court is not and cannot be directly involved with the victims, so that answers that question. As to the qualifications, I have to say the first and most important that I think is the Justice of the Peace has to have the ability to listen. If we understand the problem, we can help resolve the problem. So the ability to listen. One strong character is to be empathetic and to feel the problem and the need and that the defendant has. Okay, well, I'm gonna be here after. If you have other questions, please feel free to approach me.
Thank you. Next up is our next candidate for Justice of the Peace, Miguel Lopez.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I know it's a hot day in the middle of the summer, so taking your time to be here to participate in this political process is important. It's important because I love seeing everyone's with their t-shirt, with their crew, it's important that we take part. And if anything, this election has shown us that we can come together as a community and become involved in the political process. I am a native son of Santa Cruz County. I was born and raised here. And thanks to a lot of people who helped me, I was able to get a scholarship and move to the East Coast and go to college at George Washington University and become a lawyer. I went to Arizona State, and then I moved to Manhattan, and I practiced there for 26 years as a lawyer in a bunch of different kinds of ways. I did international litigation, I did housing rights, I did trusts and estates and real estate. I got a huge base of knowledge of what it means to help people, to advocate for people. And at the end of the day, that's who I feel I am. I'm an advocate for the everyday person, the person who can't defend themselves. And I see the judge role as maybe not that of a lawyer, maybe not of a prosecutor, but someone who's there to help us move through the judicial process in a way that is neutral, in a way that respects everybody's peace, that everybody's part in the process. So maybe I will, in a housing case, see a tenant and want to help that tenant through the process, but also respect the rights of the landlord, because we know that as landlords, when we make investments, we depend on that income to be able to pay our mortgages. But by the same token, tenants have rights that need to be respected, human rights for habitability of an apartment, the right to live in peace and quiet and enjoy the place that you're paying for rent. And that's not just where the story ends. The justice of the peace has so many different roles in our community, because as Adriana says, it is the people's court. We will not all end up in Superior Court in a case where we have murdered someone or raped someone or traffic judge. Hopefully, we will not end up there. But most of us will have a traffic violation, and most of us might end up in a situation where we're being sued or we want to sue someone. So many times people have come into that court unaware of what the process is, unaware of how to get justice. And I see my role as one of information, of education, of showing people how the judicial system works. Because most of us don't know, and most of us won't know. But if we have someone on the bench who's understanding, who listens, who cares about the people that are from here, then I think we've got a good shot. I want to say thank you to my parents who are here supporting me. Thank you, Dad, and thank you, Mom, because without you guys here supporting me, I would never have made it to this point. I just said that because I forgot at the beginning, but and I did not want to. But at the end of the day, this is a role that I believe in. This is a role that I care about, mostly because I care about us. Because I care about the people who live here, and I really don't care what t-shirt you wear. I really don't care what team you're a part of. I'm here to defend everyone's constitutional rights. And I think it's hard to imagine what the Justice Court is when we don't live it every day. So I'm going to give you a snippet of what it looks like to be the JP, because I was the JP in 2024, and I got that experience. And it's a hard job. It is a job that will test you every single day. Adriana will agree. It is not an easy position, because every day you will see people who you might know their family, and you want to help them. You want to, and your hands are tied for the most part. But that is where legal education comes in handy. A legal education that says to you, I will follow the law. Not because I don't want to help you, but because that's what ensures fairness for all of us. All right, I'm going to stop because I'm going to go over time. But
You got 20 seconds.
20 seconds. Okay. The point is that the Justice Court is about everyday people. It's about everyday people coming to a place, and maybe that's their worst day. And I see that. I have a note on my bench that says, today is this person's worst day. And I remember that, and I try to guide people to the next step. I try to listen to them and make sure that everyone has a fair shot.
I missed a question for Adriana. I will go ahead and pass it on to you because I think it was something that the questioner wanted to ask for both. It came in after her time was up. But it was a concern about the victims of children who are the victims of domestic violence. What can be done for them? Is there anything that as a justice of the peace can be done for them?
Well, first of all, I've always, from the bench, am conscious of victims and what they're going through and their rights. First and foremost, I want victims to know what's going on. I want them to be informed of the process. I'm also a big believer in restorative justice. And what that means is that victims take part in how justice or sentence or the whole process of the sentence, that they become part of it, that they're listened to. Children is a different situation because they're minors for the most part. I think that there are agencies that protect children's rights and victims of domestic violence. I mentioned the county attorneys, which is true. They have a victims' rights division. From the court's perspective, I need to make sure that those people's rights are protected, that they're listened to, that they're part of that restorative justice process.
Some questions over here. Joe gets the steps in this way.
Good morning, Mr. Lopez. This was another question that was posted online for both candidates. So, Ms. Olais, if you happen to have a moment to address it, we would love to hear your input as well. But one of our community members was interested, given that both our candidates are local, born and raised in our community, what steps do you take to maintain impartiality and avoid conflicts of interest?
That's a really good question. For me, that's why it's important that you have a legal basis for decisions. When someone goes in there, I don't give more credence to the testimony of a police officer, Mr. Rodriguez, whoever, a general citizen coming in. I treat everybody equally. For me, when people walk in there, they come in with a blank slate. I might know your mom, and I'm related to half this town, so it's always going to happen. I have cousins on both sides of my family. It will happen. For me, it is that base of education where I can say, I can be neutral here because I can apply the law equally to all. That's, from me, what I have found in my own experience at the bench. It's happened to me before. Again, to me, everyone walks in there with a blank slate.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lopez. Following up with the question and ensuring that we avoid conflicts of interest, do you feel there's a conflict of interest between your upcoming justice clinic brought by T-Mobile and your performance as a justice of peace?
Okay, so for people who don't know, after I lost the last election, from my experience on the bench, I started a nonprofit. That nonprofit is to give people tools for self-help. So we use artificial intelligence that explain to people in either domestic violence situations or housing situations, and hopefully medical debt. I've been working with the Arizona Supreme Court to get medical debt approved. So far, they've approved domestic violence and housing. The idea in that program is not that it's one-on-one representation. The idea is that there will be educational tools to help people understand the judicial process. So it's not like someone will be represented by someone in that program. That program, you go, you have questions, you have the fact scenario, you run it through the artificial intelligence, and it gives you a legal plan with tutorials that explain to you what is domestic violence. Domestic violence has legal components. For example, it has qualifying crimes, and it has a relationship requirement. And it will explain to you what those relationships are. Is it a roommate? Is it a boyfriend? Is it a husband? So those pieces will educate the public so that when they go into the court, they have a base of knowledge from which to draw. It is not me representing them or the Justice Project even representing them. I don't foresee any conflicts of interest, but I have divested myself completely from the company. I do not run it, own it. There is an executive director, Chiquis, who is here, and she is going to run it. There are volunteer certified legal advocates who are going to give the legal advice that are unconnected to me. So no, from my perspective, I don't see a conflict of interest in the Justice Project and the Justice Courts, or as me sitting at the Justice Court. I think Mr. Brown has a question.
Please make sure you speak clearly into the mic, because I've had some reports from Patagonia that have a little trouble with some of the questions.
There's a part of the justice of the JP courts where crimes that are being committed come to you first before they get moved into the other system. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so in rural counties, because we don't have grand juries, the Justice Court determines probable cause for all felonies in our county. So prior to going to trial, they first go through the Justice Court. When I first got to the Justice Court, there was a very big backlog of cases that probable cause had not been determined. In my course of that year in 2024, I moved a large percentage of those cases out of the Justice Court and into the Superior Court for trial. Why is that important? Because if you do not do that, then people are sitting in county jail for months at a time, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, without a hearing about probable cause. That means that we don't know if there's enough evidence for that person to be held and brought to trial. It's a travesty of justice that in this county, people sit in jail for 8 months at a time. When I see someone with a red jumpsuit and I say to myself, that guy's in 23-1, 23 hours in the cell, 1 hour out, for a minor crime that has not yet been determined whether it has probable cause. Is there evidence enough to hold him? Yet he's being held for months and months at a time. That is third world, I'm not gonna say the word, but it is third world stuff. You know, this is not, that's like Russia. You know, we are not supposed to be doing that. Over the course of my year as Justice of the Peace in 2024, I increased the efficiency of the court. So it was at a 60%, it went to about an 80%, which was a huge task. We moved tons of cases that had been stagnant, that had been held in Justice Court for months and months at a time. I have not seen those numbers yet. They'll come out this quarter, and I'd be curious to see how many cases are still in there without resolution. But that is partly what the Justice Court does. It's administrative as well as just sitting on the bench. You have to be an administrator. You have to administer staff. You have to administer a budget. You have to be able to move cases efficiently through the court system. Cases that are civil cases. There are thousands and thousands of civil cases at the Justice Court. It's important that we get those cases. They either go to trial or they get dismissed. The same thing with the felonies. If they're not going to have probable cause hearings, then it's important that we either move them along to dismiss those cases and free people, or we move them on to trial and into Superior Court. They should not be sitting in Justice Court.
Would you address the advantages of being a trained attorney in this job?
Well, for me, it's very simple. I have legal training. I don't have to ask anyone how to do my job. On day one, I'm working. If you ask me what is probable cause, I'll tell you it's more likely than not that this person has committed this crime, and I'll be able to tell you from whatever list of crimes that you could list off in any felony, and I would be able to at least give you an idea of what the elements of those crimes. So it's not just determining, oh, well, you know, the cop said. You have to look at every single element of the crime. There's some of my interns are here from the Justice Project, and we've talked about this. We've talked about how you've got to go word by word in the statute, clicking them off. What are the elements of the crime? So that then we can determine whether the police has met their burden. The burden is high for the police. You know, this is beyond a reasonable doubt. This is the standard that we use. That means it has to be almost certain that this person has committed this crime, and not from the probable cause perspective, but from the trial perspective. So it's important that you know these concepts. It's important that you know that in a civil case, it's a preponderance of the evidence, that it's 51% of is what someone has to prove in order to be able to prevail in their case. These are concepts that are trained, that you go to law school for, that you use every day when you're a lawyer. This comes naturally to me. 1 minute. Any other questions? Yeah. Carrie.
So I think the question about diversion was for both of you, so I was curious what your position is.
Okay. Well, DUI is a very interesting kind of case, and we have all different kinds of diversion. We have diversion, like Adriana said, in recovery court, where you have people who may be using and have minor citations or minor infractions for using drugs, not transporting drugs or selling drugs, but using. DUI, from the county attorney's perspective, it really comes down to, is there a history of DUI? And diversion, how it works is you complete a program and then the case gets dismissed. And so at your next DUI, there would not be a record of that. So from the county attorney's office, it's less about, we won't be able to hold that person accountable. It's that there won't be a record that that person has had multiple DUIs. And what we want to do is prevent multiple DUIs. I do believe in diversion, and I think it's important within reasonable bounds. Yeah.
And then,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to take a very quick 5-minute break, and I'll set my timer. because we need to make sure that the folks in Patagonia get cut off and they can take care of their questions over there. And I promise I'm not doing this to make the LD21 candidates nervous, I promise. But we'll have 5 minutes and then we will begin again. Oh, get him. Big Martin. No. But everybody gets the same thing.
Mr. Lopez?
is up, if you would please come back to your seats and we'll begin the second portion where we hear from our Legislative District 21 candidates.
I don't know, it's only been a
Now
week.
here's the trouble with Rick, getting everybody that comes down. We have more people ready to speak. Come have a seat. And if everybody would please take their seats, we do need to be getting on so we can be respectful of people's time. If you were not aware, we are in Legislative District 21. It goes from Nogales all the way up to Tucson. It includes a weird geographical area, not the entire Santa Cruz County, but it does include a big portion of Santa Cruz County, certainly the west part of it. And so we have our Legislative District 21 candidates here with us today. And so we're going to start off with Stephanie Stahl Hamilton, who is our current representative. We'll follow her with Consuelo Hernandez, who is our other current representative. Then we will have Maritza Higuera, who is a new candidate for LD21. And then follow up with Miranda Lopez, who is also our final candidate for Legislative 21. So we have 4 candidates. This will be for 2 positions. So make sure when you vote for 2 people, because we'll need those representatives there. Now, I know everybody's very friendly and kind in the back, but you've got to stop talking so everybody can hear. And so, Stephanie.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Santa Cruz County Democrats, for hosting this town hall, and thank you, Larry, for moderating. I am State Representative Stephanie Stahl Hamilton, and I am running for re-election in Legislative District 21. Born in northern Arizona, the daughter of educators who began their teaching career on Navajo tribal lands, I spent my formative years in very rural Arizona, appreciating our state's natural beauty, the diversity of her people, and deeply understanding in an equitable power dynamic. I married a 3rd-generation public school teacher in Arizona, and after attending Princeton Theological Seminary to obtain my Master's of Divinity, we moved to Tucson and grew our family of 2 to 5. My now adult children were educated in the Tucson Unified School District and are attending Pima Community College, the University of Arizona, and George Mason University, all public institutions of higher education. And as can be when our children are little, it was financially challenging to make ends meet. We did not have consistent, affordable health care and relied on WIC and access to provide for our young family, all the while I was working several part-time jobs and my husband taught full-time and picked up side gigs here and there. It was that struggle that caused me to wonder what the families were doing who had less privilege than I did. And it caused me to see how much power the Arizona legislature held to shape the everyday lives of our people and how disproportionately those who are the most vulnerable are affected. This is what caused me to run for office in the first place, and it is what guides me when I am deciding on policy and how to invest in our people. I know personally how one misfortune can change a whole person or family's trajectory, and so I ran for office to help create a trajectory of investment, stability, and promise for the people of Arizona. I have served on the government, finance, land, agricultural, rural affairs, and judiciary committees. I was the ranking member on the Natural Resources, Energy, and Water Committee, and 2 sessions ago, and now I am the ranking member of the Appropriations Committee. The last 2 sessions, leadership has entrusted me with some very important responsibility. I have been appointed to 3 regular committees: the Government Committee, the Land, Agricultural, Rural Affairs Committee, and the ranking member of the Appropriations Committee. And because of those 3 committees, I also serve on 3 joint oversight committees, which govern the decisions of our Audit Committee, our Capital Review, and the Legislative Budget. So in total, I have 6 committees under my responsibility at the legislature, as well as all of that coupled with 2 statewide water committees. The Water Infrastructure Finance Authority Committee and the Arizona Reconsultation Committee, which attends to the negotiations on our Colorado River. This year, I was delightfully surprised and honored to be named by the Capital Times the best ranking member for the minority party because of my work on the Appropriations Committee. And I have received the Good Governance Award from the County Supervisors Association. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve the people of Southern Arizona and to deliver results to Santa Cruz County in particular. Last year, Senator Gabaldon and I were able to secure historic funding for the Ruby Road investment. And this year, we delivered investments to after-school childcare, correction officer pay raises, funding for the senior center in Nogales through the area agencies on the aging, and critical funding for the Holy Cross Hospital, which was backfilling those cuts brought upon by the HR 1, the big ugly bill at the federal level. 5 seconds? Oh my gosh. Delivering results to the people of Arizona has enabled me to get legislation to the governor's desk, and none of this would have been possible without the people of LD21 sending me to Phoenix on your behalf, and I am eternally grateful for the opportunity to serve.
And are there any questions for Stephanie? A lot.
Hi, good afternoon. I am a proponent of public education. I served on the local school board for 16 years, 4 terms. Your committee membership didn't mention the education committee. But what I would like to ask of you and of all the candidates and of Senator Gabaldon is if you would initiate and support legislation to fund kindergarten full day. In the state of Arizona, we fund kindergarten for only half a day. Other states are now passing legislation including pre-K education, but our state is so far behind, so I'm asking you, if you're not able to initiate the legislation by your committee membership, if you would support and endorse it, and also for Senator Gabaldon.
Thank you for that question, and thank you for your service on the school board. That at times is a very thankless job, and it's some of the most important work that we can do. I This issue is very critical. When my oldest went to kindergarten in 2007, that was the last year that all-day kindergarten was funded in the state of Arizona. And that year also, I served on the local site council for our neighborhood school, and that site council made the decisions to allocate funding for the school. And so when Arizona chose not to fund all-day kindergarten, together the site council with our school principal, we were able to get secure grant funding, move things around so that we could, that was a community priority for our neighborhood school. And it's unfortunate that it is school by school by school, because there are some schools that are able to figure it out and make it happen. And for me, that was one of the most important priorities. And fortunately, all three of my children were able to receive that benefit of all-day kindergarten. And it pains me that we don't. I can assure you that we have at least one senator and one state representative in the Democratic caucus that every year sponsor this legislation so that we can provide funding for all-day kindergarten. And that is legislation I am happy to be a co-sponsor on. And as the ranking on appropriations, it is something, if we flip, it is something I would champion as the chair of appropriations committee. It would be one of the first priorities I would have in allocating funding. Our children need that investment. Nothing sets a child up for a strong trajectory than those early childhood years.
Representative Saul Hamilton, I have a question. What is your take on the empowerment scholarship accounts that is bankrupting public schools in our state? Maybe we can get kindergarten funding and preschool funding from them?
Truly, I mean, my take on that is very simple. Back in 2017, I was the first to organize in Tucson the signature collection. The first time the universal voucher expansion was enacted by one vote in the state legislature. We organized in Tucson. In 2018, I was hired by Save Our Schools and spent 11 months getting out that no vote on Prop 305. And my message then, as it is now, and it's the drum I beat, public dollars belong in public schools. There is accountability in our public schools. There are metrics by which we see our dollars being invested. There is, again, no greater investment that we can put into our people is to invest in our children to make sure that they are getting what they need for an incredible life. And the passage of the universal voucher expansion in 2022, and that was the former guy's parting shot to Arizona, has punched $1 billion hole in our general funds, draining resources away from our public schools. And let me tell you, in rural Arizona, our school districts and our schools are some of the biggest economic drivers in the community. They hire the most people, they serve the community the best, and we should not be shortchanging our people nor our children of those funds, because that is what is the most important use of our tax dollars. It's for our people, and especially the youngest among us.
Both local law enforcement agencies here in Santa Cruz County are the lowest paid in the state.